Hi, I'm Andrew Yang. You may remember me as being the guy who wanted to get money into the hands of millions of Americans. Well, I'm still at it, and I'm now the founder of Noble Mobile, the first carrier that pays you to use your phone less. With Noble, you get unlimited talk, text, and 5G data on the T-Mobile network, and you can earn up to $20 cash back a month for getting off your phone. Try it for just $10 a month. Go to noblemobile.com/yang10. That's noblemobile.com and use my code YANG10 to get paid to use your phone less.
Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment when you hit follow. Leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. I want to speak with you this morning about the wars of Donald Trump. That's right, and there are innumerable wars of Donald Trump. Let's begin with the domestic battle. The decision by the Justice Department at the initiation of Donald Trump to go to war against Jerome Powell, whose tenure as the key person in the Fed expires in just a few months. Donald Trump has been angry at Jerome Powell. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has been the subject of attack after attack after attack. And now the question is, will the Justice Department do what Donald Trump wants? And the answer is yes. Yes, Donald Trump is waging a war against the Fed. He's waging a war against Jerome Powell. And it is this vindictiveness, this revenge, which creates so many problems. But that's not all. Last week, we spoke about the president's war against Minnesota, New York, California, Illinois, and Colorado. 5 key states which he has never carried, despite his statement this weekend that he carried Minnesota 3 times, the implication being that Minnesota was stolen from him in the Electoral College count. Absolutely untrue, a complete falsehood. And yet the president is pursuing this path and ordering Health and Human Services to cut $20 billion in aid to those states. The states, again, Minnesota, New York, California, Illinois, and Colorado. You tell me whether or not you think this is a war against political opponents. I say it is. And there's more. It's not just on the domestic front that Donald Trump is waging his war. Look at the situation in terms of foreign policy. Let's start with Greenland. Greenland does not want to be part of the United States of America. Greenland is an independent nation. It has that special relationship with Denmark. But the reality is that Donald Trump has said, I don't care what anybody says, we are going to take Greenland. He's even talked about taking it militarily. Now, you understand Greenland is part of Denmark. Denmark and Greenland are part of NATO, which means that we could have a situation where a NATO ally or allies will be under attack from another NATO ally. It is an astounding moment when the President of the United States threatens to go to war against Greenland, and he has not ruled out the use of military force. Let's stop and think what it means if Donald Trump is able to pursue his policies unrestricted. And of course, there is the question that exists now about what has happened in Central and South America. I want to speak specifically about Venezuela. Was it a military action or a police action? Depends on who you talk to in the Trump administration. But the simple reality is that Donald Trump did not like Maduro. And as a result, he decided to take Venezuela. And as he puts it, he's running Venezuela. It is, again, a fascinating commentary on the power of the president to essentially go to war because he desires to do so, with no check, with no balance. It's just that simple. Let's stop and think about Iran for a moment. The people of Iran are rising up against the mullahs, no question about it. And I believe that is a good thing. The Iranian Revolution that overthrew the Shah is now ripe to overthrow the mullahs. And Iran, without a doubt, is a troublemaker in the world. But the question becomes, what should the United States do? And the president is now threatening military action. Now let's be clear about something. In foreign policy, the president is king. It is the articulation of the president and his policies which determine what results we will see. And in the case of Iran, frankly, I hope that the mullahs are overthrown. I hope that the Islamic Republic of Iran becomes a memory. But I also hope that whatever the United States does not provoke a backlash. I spoke with a friend of mine who is Iranian who said, we want the mullahs gone, but the last thing we want is American military action. The Iranians remember the implication of American action, going back to the overthrow of Mossadegh in the 1950s, and indeed our support for the Shah through all of those years. I don't know what will replace the mullahs. There are some who consider the fact that Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, is willing to serve as a transitional figure, might be a vehicle for accomplishing, but I don't know. I only know one thing, that the president is threatening again a war with Iran. And that's not all the president is threatening when it comes to war. He is also threatening Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona. And we've talked about this in the past, but I want to emphasize again that the Trump administration is again talking about indicting Senator Kelly, who is a genuine American hero, fought as a fighter pilot in critical American actions in the last few years, was an astronaut who went into space, a man who has served with great integrity in the United States Senate. And yet we know that the president is waging a war against Mark Kelly. And of course, that's not all. The president is waging a war against the news media, CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, and indeed the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. We have a president of the United States who on a variety of fronts is waging war, an administration that is determined to destroy its enemies. The interesting thing is that Donald Trump does have an enemies list. I've just enumerated some of those enemies. But you understand and I understand that the ability of Congress to act, or for that matter, the courts to act, well, there seems to be a disconnect. And I do want to point out, again, what has been going on in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And the fact is that now the administration is talking about increasing the number of U.S. Marshals and ICE agents and, well, heaven only knows what else, to go into Minnesota to restore order. What do you mean restore order? Minnesota is not a state in chaos, and certainly the inclusion of more troops in the battle over what Donald Trump wants to see in Minnesota, well, it's going to cause more havoc, more pain, more sorrow. But that's not all. You understand that the reason Donald Trump is so anxious about Minnesota is because of what the Trump administration is saying was an extremist action in Minnesota, and his move to defend American law enforcement, particularly the ICE agents. So I went back and I thought to myself, what happened on January 6th, 5 years ago? What happened was that Trump's supporters attacked law enforcement. They stormed the Capitol in an insurrection. And what did Donald Trump do in the opening days of his administration? Very simple. He pardoned almost all of those who were involved in the January 6th insurrection. There is a legitimate question about a president's power, but there is no doubt that this president is exercising that power in a direct way by waging war, foreign and domestic, against his perceived political enemies. This is something that should disturb every American. And indeed, it does disturb the world. When I decided this morning to emphasize Donald Trump's wars, it seemed to me to be the logical extension of what Donald Trump is doing, what he is promulgating. I listened with great care yesterday to Kristi Noem, the secretary who is in charge of our security. At least that's what we're told. Homeland security is critical. But when I listened to Kristi Noem yesterday, defending the indefensible actions of the Trump administration, even presented with film footage which contradicted what she said, listening to the president and the vice president and Kristi Noem going on about what happened in Minnesota, the fact that Minnesota law enforcement is being denied any access to information from the federal government dealing with the incident, the fact that the secretary could say publicly that she was right, contrary to those who would suggest she is not, should be deeply disturbing to everyone. Entitling this episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman, The Wars of Donald Trump, I really had to think carefully about what I was going to say. But I want to be crystal clear. There is no doubt that there is a war going on. It is a war by this administration against states of the Union, against nation states in the world. It is an administration that is determined to fight and achieve its revenge against those who they perceive as enemies. This is something that I find fascinating. Do you remember, if you're old enough, when Richard Nixon had an enemies list? 1973, 74, it was revealed, and there was a revulsion which gripped our country. Where is the revulsion today? I spoke with a young man for whom I have a very high regard, who said to me, he is in his 30s, that all he's known his entire adult life is Donald Trump. And he said to me, you are reacting based on your experience. He said, I am reacting based on mine. What you consider, he said to me, what you consider to be abnormal or terrible is now routine to me. I accept the hyperbolic language of Donald Trump and his administration, not because it's right, but because it's normal. And that's what concerns me. It's why I have chosen Donald Trump's wars to be my topic this morning. The idea that what Donald Trump is doing, what his administration is doing, is normal disturbs me. Donald Trump's wars are not normal. They are not the America that we have believed in and battled for. The Constitution is a fragile document, and the abuses we are seeing now by Donald Trump and the members of his administration are, at least to me, clear and precise. And so, when you share this podcast with your friends, The Wars of Donald Trump, I want all of you to consider, I want all of our listeners to consider what the implications are for what I am saying. It is not said lightly. It is said, frankly, with a sense of deep distress. We are in a battle for the Constitution of the United States. And, my friends, it is a battle we cannot afford to lose. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. You can write me a review on Apple Podcasts, drop a comment on YouTube or Spotify, and click any of the links in the show notes to connect with me on social media. Please do remember to share this episode with a friend or a colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. That is what we're trying to do. And with your help, we will do it. This show has been getting so much positive attention that we're excited now to have sponsors. They're advertisers. They're supporting us. This, of course, will help us to create more opportunities for Around the Political World. And we're happy that we are able to do it. My special thanks go to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast. Gogo keeps us going every day, and I'm grateful. I am John Rothman. I'll be back tomorrow, and let's hope that what I have to say is more cheerful. Stop and think, and let's reflect on what the implications are of the wars of Donald Trump. I am John Rothman. See you tomorrow, right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman.
Hi, I'm Andrew Yang, former presidential candidate and champion of getting more money into the hands of millions of Americans. I want to tell you about our new company, Noble Mobile, which is the first phone carrier that pays you to use your phone less. Did you know Verizon and AT&T paid out $18 billion in dividends to shareholders last year? That's money they make by overcharging you for data. Noble changes all that. You get unlimited everything on the T-Mobile network. Plus, when you use your phone less, you get up to $20 in cash back each month, and we give you a 5.5% interest rate on it. Most importantly, Noble members use their phone 17% less each month because, hey, people like money. And as a listener to this show, you can try Noble for just $10 if you visit noblemobile.com and use the code YANG10. Stop overpaying for your data, go to noblemobile.com/YANG10, and start getting paid to use your phone less today.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.